Thanks, Kazi. How's it, Rassie? Well, bad
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Rassie, that would seem to be the sort of innings where you learnt a lot about batting on the subcontinent. Is that true?
Yes, I would. We the subcontinent, and you speak to a lot of previous players and current players and guys who've been successful here, and they sort of prepare you for what you're going to expect. And I was glad to spend some time in the middle. And all the things that we spoke about, it was sort of exactly what I expected. So it's good to be out there and knowing that your preparation and execution or your plans was good. So I'll take some confidence from that. I think a guy like Aiden as well. So it's the learnings we take into the final game now. I think it was my first match in the subcontinent, so quite happy with it.
Basif, then Altus.
Yeah, good afternoon, Rassie. This is Basif Jabbar from crickside.pk. You're one of the top batsmen from South Africa and you scored heavily in the first test, but is there any specific bowler that troubled you the most in the first test match?
I think Pakistan have a very balanced bowling lineup. I wouldn't say there's one bowler that necessarily stands out. I think playing against a good test bowling lineup, every bowler is gonna challenge you. So I wouldn't single anyone out. I think their spinners bowled pretty well, and their seamers ran in with a lot of intent, shorter spells. They used the reverse swing that was there, which made it pretty tricky for us. So every bowler posed his own threat for a batter. Nauman Ali on debut bowled pretty well, and Yasir Shah is always going to pose questions to your technique against spin. And like I said, the seamers ran in with great intent and intensity, which I think is needed on subcontinent wickets. So I think it was overall a good bowling performance from them.
Rassie, about sort of the preparations that you guys did and talking about going to the subcontinent, just how is it different facing spinners in the subcontinent than facing them on South African wickets?
I think the obvious difference is the bounce. There's obviously a little bit less bounce in the subcontinent. Spinners start bowling quite early on, so the ball is newish. So it's a low bounce, sort of that's with the skid in South Africa. Once spinners bowl a new ball, it's normally they get a lot more bounce, which brings the slip into play, but sometimes takes LBW out of play. Where the subcontinent, all dismissals are in play the whole time. The ball's not bouncing over the stumps, so you really got to set yourself up to sort of counter the ball and LBW, and obviously there's catches around the bat. So I think that's the major difference. Every ball basically is all dismissals are in play. That's the obvious difference for me.
Thanks, Russell. Sorry, Rassie. Up next is Firdaus Telford, Stuart, Lloyd, and then Ken again.
Hi, Rassie. Just wondering, this is your first test experience away from home. Can you tell us a little bit about what that's been like? I mean, apart from conditions being unfamiliar, what's it like to play a test match somewhere else?
Yeah, it's a pretty special feeling. I think, the obvious challenges are highlighted because we're in the subcontinent. The conditions are probably almost polar opposite to what we find at home. So, I think in that sense, to come to a new country, which not a lot of people in our dressing room have been in, has been a great experience. Conditions, practice facilities, everything's different. So, from my side, I've just enjoyed seeing new stadiums, new practice facilities, and new conditions, and then you sort of, you try to almost reference back home what you're used to, and you try and apply what you know from back home. For example, we're in Islamabad now. Rawalpindi it's quite chilly. The outfield's quite hard. my first thought when I stepped onto the field earlier today was it feels a bit like a winter game back in South Africa on the IFL. So in that sense, it's new conditions, and you try and sort of reference it and I suppose plan your game plan accordingly.
Telford?
How's it, Rassie? I'm just wondering, at what point in your innings, when you play on pitches which are completely foreign to you, do you stop thinking about all the stuff you've been told and all the learnings you've got, and at what point does it become actual, this is my experience, I know enough to trust myself to be able to play here?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a complicated question, that because you prepare obviously with the info that you've received, and but in conjunction with that, every batter has their own game plan and stuff that they've been successful at. So you sort of it's a combination of that. And when you go out to play, it's almost you do your homework in terms of what to expect, but to actually be out there and playing it, you have to trust your preparation and your technique. I mean, all those cliches that we always talk about, but I mean it's true. So definitely, you don't go out there necessarily and reinvent the wheel. You have to, as a batter, know your limitations, know your strengths and weaknesses, and sort of trust them in conjunction with a bit of a different game plan, which you have in the subcontinent.
Stuart, followed by Lloyd.
Hi, Rassie. Just to check on something, you've played with this guy for a long time. I was wondering, you spend a lot of time next to Matt Slip also. How has Quinton changed, if at all, as Test captain in these 3 games that he has had from the guy that you know?
Yeah, I think Quinny's quite consistent as a character. What you see is what you get. I think, like I've mentioned in previous interviews, I think Quinny has a brilliant cricket brain. I think he's lucky to have a guy like Faf there to sort of bounce ideas off. I wouldn't say he's changed much as Test captain. I think if you look at the previous game, our bowling effort 80% of our bowling effort in the first innings, we were actually brilliant. The plans we had were good. The guys executed those plans. Field placings were really good to an extent that Pakistan almost copied some of our field placings. So, Quinny's quite consistent. I mean, you guys have spoken to him quite a bit. You know what you get with him. So, I wouldn't say he's changed much. I think, I don't think he's going to change much, to be honest. That's what he brings as captain.
Thanks, Russ. Lloyd, followed by Ken. If you guys could please indicate on the panel if you'd like to ask any questions.
How's it, Rassie? I hope you're well. You've come a hell of a close in ODI cricket and even closer in Test cricket. Is that first ton in Proteas colours something you think about at some point? Does it start irritating you a little bit?
It's definitely something I think about. I think I've thought about it probably for my whole life. So, I do think about it. In a sense, I'm a believer of what will happen. So, from my side, if I can keep putting myself in those situations to come close, that's, I back myself to get there. But you can't go out on a certain day and say I'm going to score 100. You got to try to be consistent in your process, every ball, and your mental discipline, and give yourself the best chance to succeed every ball. Which, I mean, if you do that consistently throughout the day, you're going to face around 200, 250 balls, which is what's needed for 100 at the subcontinent. So I do think about it. I'm feeling good. I'm batting well. Let's hope it comes. I mean, I can't say it'll come this game or next game or ever. There's no guarantees in life or in cricket, but I'll keep putting in the work to give myself the best chance.
Thanks.
Kenny, followed by Kanyuso and Altus again.
Rassie, is it fair to say maybe that in that first innings, the batting lineup as a whole got that balance between being positive and aggressive and occupying the crease a little bit wrong? And has there been a discussion amongst the batsmen that the second innings kind of showed that that's the way forward in the second test?
Yeah, definitely. We were really disappointed after winning the toss there to only get to 220. It's something that we spoke about. First innings runs in the subcontinent is vital, and it's as a batting unit. We know we weren't good enough, not even close. And it's disappointing because we had really good preparation coming into that match. I mean, the preparation we had was actually spot on. We prepared in pretty bad conditions, and that's to an extent, what we got. So we were definitely prepared. We definitely had the right game plan. That maybe that's execution that was lacking in responsibility. I mean, we can't run away from it. It's a few of us got in and got starts, and on a good wicket, batting first, you need to put pressure on the other team, especially on a pitch that's playing well. And we knew we needed 350 at least. And if we can bat the whole day, we could get close to 300, 400, and then it's a whole different game. So we're quite disappointed in that. But yeah, I mean, it's to an extent, it's you talk about all these things. It's a lot of our guys everyone's first time in Pakistan. Some of our guys first time in the subcontinent. So sometimes it's valuable to go out there and experience how it is, and put you in good state going forward. So that's definitely something we'll look to rectify.
Good afternoon, Rassie. Rassie, you may be the most junior in terms of the batsmen in the team, but you've played a lot of first-class cricket to understand the anatomy of a collapse. Are you able to just pinpoint why these collapses have been repetitive, especially over the recent time, over the recent period we've seen with the national team?
Yeah, it's difficult to pinpoint. I think it sort of goes down to the fundamentals of building an innings and getting in and giving yourself best chance for those first 20 and 30 balls. And I think in the last game, it was highlighted by the fact that the spinners were bowling really well, and the scoring rate does go down as the ball gets older. So, yeah, it's difficult to pinpoint. Like I said, there's a few aspects of our batting that we weren't happy with, and we can improve by a whole lot. And we're disappointed with that, and it's something that we're going to rectify. In terms of pinpointing why we have some collapses, it's difficult. Maybe you can put it down to good bowling. Maybe you can put it down to a little bit of indecision going in from the new guys, and run-outs like in the previous game as in Test cricket shouldn't happen. Yeah, so it's a bit of a conglomerate of circumstances. I don't think there's one correct answer. It's just when you go in, you need to take responsibility and give yourself the best chance to play a long innings.
We'll finish with Altus, and then we'll start with the Afrikaans questions.
Rassie, you spoke about the weather being much colder there in Islamabad and Rawalpindi. Do you expect the pitch conditions to be similar to the first test? And with a harder outfield, do you expect reverse swing to play a much bigger role in the second test?
Yeah, it's difficult for me to say about the pitch. We had a look at it today. It looks like most of the grass has been taken off. How hard they'll make it, it's difficult to say at this stage. But yeah, from looking at it today, my first impression isn't that there'll be much in for the new ball. Yeah, like I mentioned, they took most of the grass off. Harder outfield, reverse swing. I think there was a fair amount of reverse swing in the first match, so it's difficult to say it will play more of a role. Again, reverse swing is one of those things that we came here and we prepared for, and we played it decently throughout the test. So I think it'll play the same role really. I think they have some bowlers that exploit that very well. and so do we. So it's a challenge of subcontinent cricket, much like spin is. It goes hand in hand. So yeah, I definitely still think it's in the game.
Thank you, Rassie. We'll move on to Percy. 2 questions to you, Percy, before we move on to Shafiq with Afrikaans.
Thank you so much, Sipakazi. Bye, Rassie. Sipakazi, before I ask my initial Afrikaans question, I was going to ask you, I'm not sure if one of my colleagues asked this question or if you're allowed to answer this question. Can you perhaps give us a fitness update on Dean Elgar, perhaps, or is that something we need to ask the coach, perhaps?
Percy, I will send out an update, an injury update in the next day or so. They're still assessing Dean as well as Tabrez. So we'll have a better picture perhaps tomorrow, late tomorrow after practice.
I'm not sure. Anyway,
thank you so much.
Sorry there.
Thank you so much, Sipakazi. Rassie, baie dankie. Rassie, kan ek net vra, ek kry net twee vrae. Julle het soort van, ek kan vaar, julle het seker oor die laaste paar dae, julle het 'n ekstra dag gehad, 'n bietjie van 'n nadoodse ondersoek gedoen oor wat presies daar in Karachi gebeur het. Wat was julle gevolgtrekkings geweest? En julle het net 'n paar dae voor die volgende toets begin. Wat gaan julle ook anders kan doen? En dan my tweede vraag, soos Sipakazi my gevra het, is dat my kollegas het vir jou gevra byvoorbeeld die draai aspek in die toets. Aan die eerste toets was baie effektief geweest. Ons gesien wat Shah gedoen het in daai toets. Het julle die nodige slaankrag om ook met goeie draaibal aksie te kom in hierdie toets in Rabopi?
Ja, op die eerste vraag, ja, ons het 'n nadoodsondersoek gedoen en die redes of die dinge wat ons uitgelig het was redelik voor die hand liggend geweest. Natuurlik eerste beurt moet jy meer as 220 aanteken. Ons weet ons het 'n groot geleentheid gemis daar om hulle onder druk te sit. Dan maar dinge gebeur in cricket. Van daar af moet jy nog steeds kan terugkom in die wedstryd in. So ons het baie goed gebal vir 85% van ons eerste beurt wat ons gebou het en teen die einde van dag 2 toe Fahim Ashraf en ja, ek dink Rizwan het ook alright gebat. Hulle het 'n paar vennootskappe gehad daarso teen die einde van ons balbeurt. En toe natuurlik die oggend van dag 3 het ons baie lopies gelek. So daar is ook 'n groot aspek wat ons geïdentifiseer het. Ja, en van daar af ons het alright vertoning in die tweede beurt gehad, een goeie vennootskap gehad en toe net weer paltjies verloor met ja, redelik gereeld paltjies verloor. So dit is daar is seker maar die 3 grootste punte. En van daar af breek mens dit maar af op 'n individuele basis, maar ek sê steeds daai is dit. En dan jou tweede vraag, vra jy, het ons die spin bowlers of het ons kolwers die
Rassie, ek vra net of julle dink, julle glo julle het genoeg draaiballers om juis ook hulle te counter in die volgende toets met
hom. Ja, nee, definitief. Ou soos Keshav bal baie mooi op die huidige stadium. Ek dink ja, hy het vir Babar 2 keer uitgekry. Natuurlik hulle beste kolwer is. Dis jammer vir ons dat 'n ou soos Shamsi beseer geraak het op die oggend van dag 1. Ek dink hy sou 'n groot rol gespeel het daarso en ook as hy regs vir die toets daai met Shaheen Afridi wat links oor die paaltjies bal maak 'n redelike rol vir 'n regterhander en natuurlik draai Shamsi die bal terug in die regterhander in. So ek dink hy sal definitief 'n groot rol speel en ja, ek dink die George het noodwendig so baie balkans gekry as wat hy sou gehoop het nie. En dis nie vir enige rede nie. Hy's bal baie mooi op die huidige stadium en hy kry 'n bietjie ekstra wip wat Shamsi nie kry nie. Ag nee, Shamsi nie wat Keshav nie kry nie, so dit maak hom gevaarlik, natuurlik 'n lang ou. So nee, definitief. Ek het geen ja, ek dink regtig ons draaibal bowlers is toegerus om hulle aan te vat, ja.
Baie dankie, Rassie.
Final question, Shafiq.
Rassie, ek wil graag praat oor jou dismissals in Karachi. Jy is uitgehardloop in die eerste innings, jy en Temba albei in die top 6. En dan, wat is die lesse wat jy geleer het uit jou dismissals? Ek dink die left-arm spin het jou in die tweede beurt, jy het bietjie voor jou beenske daar gedruk, so dit in terme van die lesse van jou dismissals?
Ja, ek dink die uithardloop was onnodig, alhoewel ek natuurlik gevoel het daar is 'n loopie, dus anders sou ek hom nie geroep het nie. Ja, dis 'n moeilike en jy wil jou intensiteit ophou wanneer jy kol van die middel en natuurlik om goed te hardloop is deel van dit. Ja, ek en Dean het net effens 'n misverstand natuurlik gehad en ja, teen die tyd wat jy dit doen dan se te laat. En die tweede beurt was dit Jasser Shah wat my uitgekry het, was nie die linkerhander nie. En die les wat ek daar kry, dit was 'n baie vol bal. Die les daarso is maar net jy kan nie 95% aandag aan 'n bal gee nie. Jy moet al is dit 'n vol bal en jy dink jy het hom gecover, moet jy nog steeds 100% commit en ja, ja, dis maar wat ek sou sê, enigste ding wat ek anders regtig kon gedoen het daar. Ja, so in die volgende toets as ek weer na 'n situasie is dan sal ek om alhoewel net 5%, maar 5% anders speel.
Thanks, Ras. Would it be possible for you to give us that answer in English as well, please? It was a good one.
What was the question?
You can ask the question.
Dismissal. Yeah, my dismissals, what am I taking away from that? Obviously, run out in the first innings was unfortunate. You know, as a batsman, you want to keep that intensity and when you bat, and part of that is running well between the wickets. I obviously thought there was a runs, hence I called for it. Dean and I just had a bit of a misunderstanding, and then obviously by that time it's too late, so it's unfortunate. And in the second innings, I got up to Jasser Shah, which I probably committed to that shot 95%, which, you know, I thought it was a very full ball. I thought I had it covered, and then just sort of spat out of the wicket and went straight into the hands of that silly point. So, you know, what I'm taking from that is, you know, you can't take, even if it's a perceived full ball or a ball that you think you can navigate, you can't take it for granted, especially against a quality bowler like Jasser Shah. So, yeah, that's the learnings I'll take into the next test.